All right, for exponential functions, a reminder, the equation is ab to the power of x, where a is always your starting point, or starting value, and then your b is your rate of growth or decay. Okay, a reminder, your b is found by either doing 1 plus the rate or 1 minus the rate, and that rate, remember, is always a decimal, even though it gives it to you as a percentage. So on number 1, the question is asking you which statement is best interprets the meaning of the y-intercept. So you have to first decide if it's 18,500, 0.85, or it's t. And since we already know that a is your starting value, the number in front is your starting value, that would be your y-intercept. So the only answer that could be is a. The 0.85 is actually referring to your rate of decay because it's less than 1. It's not increasing, it's not decreasing. It is decreasing, but if that was talking about the b. And then the t would be the time. Domain and range reminder. Okay, even though this is what the graph looks like, it has arrows at the end. So if we were looking for the domain of this one, even though it's asking for a range, your domain would be all real numbers, remember. And then since it's asking you for the range, which is y, we can get rid of answer choices A and B. And then we have to think about our asymptote. Remember the line that the graph stays above, even though it looks like it's touching -1, it will stay above -1. So it would be above -1, so the answer would be C. For number 3, you need to graph it to answer that, so that's a good review of number 2. So I'm going to pause it now and let you answer number 3 using your graphing calculator. I want you to do the same thing. Okay, you should have had time to answer number 3. All right, let's look at number 4. It says from 2000 to 2020, the population of Mouthville, USA can be modeled by the function p equals 89,527 times 1.12 to the power of t, and it's asking which of these statements is true. It says the initial population is increasing by a factor of 1.12 each year, so that would be your 1.12 there, and remember that's the rate of growth. It says the initial population is 1.12. Well, remember the initial population is your starting value, so that would be your starting value. So it can't be B. C says the population is decreasing by a factor of 112 each year. It's growth because it's above 1, not below 1, so it can't be C. So then we have to decide if A is true or D is the answer. So since it is a rate of growth is 112, it is increasing by 112 each year. So the answer is A. All right, number 5, looking at the graph here, it's asking you for which one is true, and it's giving you domain and range statements. So reminder about your asymptote. So I would draw your asymptote so that would help you with your range. So looking at your asymptote, you should be able to narrow down which of these is actually the true statement. So I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to go ahead and push pause. I want you to do the same thing, and we're going to go to the next page. Okay, on the next page, it's making sure that you know how to write the equations and use the equations. So we're going to do number 1 together, and then you're going to do number 2 on your own. Reminder, our equations are a, b to the power of x, where b can be 1 plus the rate or 1 minus the rate. In August, on online sales, 2,000 graphing calculators during the back-to-school sale, it increases at a rate of 5% each month. So we're starting with 213. And then the biggest mistake that students are going to make is to put 0.05, which is correct. 5% is 0.05. Remember, you moved decimal 2 times. People are going to pick B for the answer. B is not the answer because remember, if it's increasing, it's 1 plus 0.05. So If we do 1 plus 0.05, it's not going to be 0.95, it's going to be D, 0.1.05. I'm going to pause it, let you do number 2. Okay, for number 3, you have to use the data in the table to figure out what it would be for 15 days. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and then you could count all the way up to 15. But this is one that you would actually want to use your calculator for. And unfortunately on this one, it's hard to tell that it's exponential based on the information, because it's, even though it's not going at a constant rate, but this could also be a scatter plot. So it's kind of hard, but since it's all in exponential functions, we're going to use our stat edit button. Oop, I have to clear my calculator. And we're going to go to the exponential function part. Okay, and then you go to stat, calculate, and we're going to do exponential regression. Get our equation. Okay, it says 149, which is going to round it to 1500 for A. And then our B is 0.95. So we would write our equation. And then since it's asking us for 15, put 15 here to figure out what would be the best estimate. And 694.9, so our answer would be A. Okay, so number 4 is very similar to 1 and 2. And then number 5, you're going to have to do the same thing that we did on number 3, but you have to do it 2 separate times for each. So you need to have an equation for stock A, you have an equation for stock B, and then you have to see which of these statements is true. So I'm going to give you, I want you to work on those 2 on your own, so I'm going to push pause, give you some time to do that, and then we're going to go to the next page. Okay, last page, reviewing key features. So asymptote and y-intercept are the main things that you have to remember. So we're going to go ahead and do number 5 together, and then you should be able to do the other ones on your own based on what we review on number 5. It's asking for the y-intercept and the asymptote of this function. So we're going to go to y equals, type it in, and push graph. You can sketch it on the graph if you want to help you. But by looking at your graph, you can see that the asymptote is at 1 to -3. So your graph will not cross -3. So our asymptote is y equals -3. Oh, sorry, our light just went out. There we go. So looking around here, asymptote, I can get rid of answer choices A and B. Now I need to think about, is the y-intercept at 0, 2, or 2, 0? Well, 0, 2 would be here, and 2, 0 would be there. So you're making sure you know how to read the coordinates correctly. And if you look at your graph, it crosses at 1, 2. So this would be the place it crosses on the y-intercepts, and the answer would be C. You don't have to sketch the graph, only if it will help you. Alright, you should be able to finish the rest of the packet based on the little review that we did.